The way I said a village, Simba was a village situation at the time. He, at the time, moved into politics because he wanted a better life, not only for himself, but also for the island. So what's going on. True politics at the time was the only way to get it done. The whole political structure was different. St. Martin, even though in 1953, you can talk about the statute, St. Martin was like a part of Curacao. Curacao actually called the shots politically. And as far as development is concerned, also they called the shots as well. So he having been able to have a connection with Curacao via ISA, where he started out as a national, and then he turned become a Democrat. And as such, Issa, who was at the time the main man in the Democratic Party of Curacao, they had a good relationship, and through him, he would get a number of things done for St. Martin.
So you're saying, when you look at it in retrospect, he was a man of his times. He did what he had to do for that time in history, for that period.
Yeah, having said this though, I'm saying as a leader, the vision should have been wider. There's where I want to go. I don't want to fault him for being short-sighted, quote unquote, for where St. Martin was going. He could not have seen it in so wide a manner because he hadn't traveled. I who have been in Holland, been in Robben and Ruber, who are already far ahead in their development, already preparing to get away from Curacao and going their own way. I was then at the time with in the time of the PPA, when there were a big party, the AVP, Henny Eamon's party, who was a strong Aruba for the Rubens party, but PPA was more inclusive than National Alliance is now. I don't bring politics in here, but I'm giving reference to the ideas at the time. So he who grew up here knew that he wanted it better, saw an opportunity through politics, grabbed it, and because of he was in power, investors who saw St. Martin as a gold mine, and they came in here, and Mercer at the time was one of the big persons who saw Mullet Bay as his own little hobby, his own little baby, pumped a lot of money into it, developed the whole of Mullet Bay the way it is now for his rich friends. Because don't forget, tourism at the time was for the wealthy people, and the kind of tourists we had at the time. A lot of money circulated in St. Martin. After that, like in the 80s, in the late 80s and 90s, then you got people where working people were then coming to St. Martin. It was a big name to go to, so there are groups of people coming in. Then the standard of the tourists dropped.
That started with timeshare. What you're
exactly,
saying. Because
exactly.
I remember what you're saying back in the 70s. Tourism, traveling was for the wealthy people that can afford it.
Correct.
But later on in the let me think, 80s somewhere, when Martin Fleetman developed Pelican Resort with timeshare, that's when you started to get more the working class Americans taking vacations to the Caribbean.
Exactly.
And then we went into mass tourism.
Correct. And that dropped the level even more, because then with mass tourism we had building development like crazy. We'd have the workforce, the education system was not yet was developing that type of workforce. That's another area we went into. The question which I was trying to build the answer to the question you asked, how did I get into the politics? So this is the background which forced me into saying something has to be done. At the time we had a few local people coming back who have studied and came back here and who have jobs. At that time, you have problems. The government had problems in employing people who were studied people. And Scott was one of them. Dr. Scott was one of those, where there's controversy about his being here and not being here. Even his brother also is one of the most outstanding public officials in terms of he studied public administration, the full thing, R&B, so 1 and 2. So he was a totally professional expert in public administration. These are the people who really needed it at the time. But the politician was so predominant, and that remains so until today, unfortunately.
I was going to say, it remains until it's so today.
And it has to change, or else we will not have the change. Again, I'm becoming emotional about it, because it's a long span we have been fighting and looking at it for it to become that way, and it hasn't happened. Here and there you've had some changes, but the actual principle of the matter has not changed in terms of